Okay, good evening, folks. My name is Kevin Bargness. I'm with the Communications Division at the Department of Planning and Development. I just want to make you aware that we are live streaming this on YouTube, and it is being recorded. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nolan.
Or Norma, do you want to translate that?
Muy buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Kevin Bargness. Les doy la bienvenida. Les quiero avisar de que vamos a grabar esta programación de esta noche.
Great, thank you. I will share my screen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nolan Zaroff. I am the lead planner for the Southwest region at the Department of Planning and Development. And I want to thank you all for joining us tonight for this community presentation of the responses that we received for our request for proposals at 47th and Justine in the back of the Yards neighborhood.
Mi nombre es Nolan, soy el dirigente de este proyecto. Les aviso que hoy vamos a tener una reunión para revisar las personas que proponen sus servicios para el proyecto de Back of the Yards.
And we are providing simultaneous interpretation this evening. If you do require Spanish interpretation, please click on the interpretation button that is located on the Zoom toolbar on your Zoom screen.
Les vamos a proveer traducción al español esta noche. Si acaso están interesados, les vamos a pedir que por favor eleccionen el icono de interpretación. Es el botoncito que está abajo a mano derecha que dice Interpretation y escojan español y va a estar con ustedes el magnífico Luis para traducirles nuestra reunión de esta noche.
Great. And so we have a full agenda this evening. So I do want to get right into it. I want to we have both Alderwoman Taylor with us from the 20th Ward and Alderman Lopez from the 15th Ward. I want to give each of them an opportunity to provide some sort of opening remarks. And then also Claudia Erasme, our Managing Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Planning and Development, before we get into the full program. So Alderwoman Taylor, are you there? Do you want to sort of welcome everyone and say a few things?
So good evening, neighbors. Thank you for taking the time to get on this call tonight. Development in our communities usually happens to us and not with us. And so I'm excited that myself and Alderman Lopez have worked with the Department of Planning to do development different in our community. I appreciate the work you all have done over the months, these busy nights and endless mornings of meetings and having conversations. It will be well worth it. Just know that we are listening and this is a work in progress. And so tonight you have the opportunity to ask questions. The question that you don't ask is the dumb question. And so feel free to ask. If you're unsure, please ask. You'll have our contact information in the chat so that you're able to talk to us, of course, afterwards. And please know that this is a project that will not go through if we do not work together. And so I thank you again for being here tonight and just know that this is a work in progress. Alderman Ray Lopez, my coworker.
Thank you, Alderman Taylor. And good evening, to everyone that's here tonight for this evening's town hall. This is the culmination of several months worth of work between community, the alderman's offices, and the city's Department of Planning and Development, listening to see what development will look like in the back of the yards in a cohesive way. Too often, from too many years, it's just been piecemeal with no coordination. And with Alderwoman Taylor and I meeting regularly with the department, we hopefully will help have a cohesive future for the back of the yards, regardless of the ward. And I'm thankful to the 3 entities that put forward RFPs. You know, the goal was to focus on housing, to focus on retail, and to focus on the community. And I'm very excited by what has been proposed and look forward to seeing what the best we have to look forward to in our community. And more importantly, the fact that so many people are here to engage in this process speaks volumes to the interest that exists within the community. Look forward to a great conversation. We'll be here throughout the entirety of the program. Thank you. Nolan?
Thank you, Alderman. And Claudia, did you want to say a few words before we get into the nuts and bolts?
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Alderman Taylor and Alderman Lopez. I am Claudia Erasme, and I am delighted to be here today, as the Alderman have mentioned, because this is definitely a great moment to start to see the fruit of our labor together. And I just wanted to reiterate that these work that we're going to see today is the result of the Invest Southwest initiative, which the intention is to promote equitable investments across the city by focusing on these 10 community areas, which back of the yard is one of them. And really the intention is to bring, as it was mentioned before, opportunities for jobs, for better housing, for amenities, for services that will support these communities, and are building on your own development plans that have been done before, plus engagement that has happened more recently right before issuing these RFPs. And so this is the result of a lot of work together. I love the words that I heard from the Alderman. It's a work in progress. It is done in a coordinated way so that we have a cohesive vision, and it's participatory. So these are things that we are holding very close to our heart and that we want to promote. And so we continue to listen to you. And tonight we want to listen to these private development teams that have responded, so that we can continue the conversation and see something happen in the near future. So I thank you for your time again and your continued interest.
Great, thank you. And so again, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. Again, the reason why we're here is last fall, in coordination with the Neighborhood Roundtable and community members in Back of the Yards, we engaged in a visioning process for a city-owned vacant lot at the corner of 47th and Justine. We looked at this in a way to reimagine this underutilized city-owned land in the heart of the neighborhood. And it's a key element, as Claudia mentioned, of our Invest Southwest initiative, looking at ways to coordinate investment on the city's south and west sides. And so this is sort of the culmination. We issued the request for proposal last fall, and we've received 3 proposals back. And we're here tonight to hear from the teams that have developed these proposals and give you an opportunity to answer any questions, hear answers, provide feedback. And really we're here to get your help in evaluating these proposals and advancing, a successful proposal. So what we're hoping to accomplish tonight, again, as I mentioned, first to meet the respondent teams who have developed proposals for 47th and Justine. We're here to learn about those proposals, and then you have an opportunity to ask questions about them and provide feedback on them. And so, this first section led by DPD, I just want to give you a quick recap of the visioning process and how we got to today and to these 3 proposals. And then I will hand it over to Norma, our facilitator, who will take us through developer team presentations. And so each team will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. We will then play an 8-minute video that we have asked them to develop in advance. And that we've shared, should have shared with most of you earlier this week. And then there will be 20 minutes for Q&A, for questions and answers of those development teams. And at the end, I will come back in and talk through what the next steps are in the process and how you can continue to engage in the process. And so first I want to provide just a quick recap of sort of how we got here and what an RFP is, what a request for proposal is. Really, a request for proposal is a way to solicit development proposals for city-owned land. And we identified this lot at 47th and Justine as a key development site that is sort of underutilized. It's city-owned, and it could really be an opportunity to spur new development and new investment along the corridor. And these Invest Southwest requests for proposals are really meant to go beyond a traditional process. And what that means is we're looking to facilitate design excellence at the site. We're looking to make sure that whatever development occurs at this site fits within the vision of Back of the Yards. And this process looks to engage with the community to make sure that the community's vision and priorities are being included in any development proposals for the site. We're also looking to encourage local partnerships and build local wealth in the community. And to that end, we started engagement efforts early last fall. So this idea was first proposed at the August 2020 meeting of the Neighborhood Roundtable. It's been discussed at all the subsequent roundtable meetings since then. We also conducted some targeted outreach in the community, working with both Alderman Taylor and Alderwoman Lopez to engage local businesses along the corridor. As well as canvassing, kind of doing, on the ground, door-to-door outreach with Alderwoman Taylor's office in October, and then also conducted some in-person and phone interviews. In October of last year, we conducted our first visioning workshop that was attended by about 80 stakeholders to start to vision for the site and understand what does the community want to see at this location in terms of businesses, community amenities, business support, housing, open space. We then followed up with a second visioning session in November. All of the information that we received at those visioning workshops and in our kind of one-on-one interviews and outreach efforts got incorporated into a request for proposals, which was a document asking developers to propose ideas for the site. That request for proposals was released at the end of November, on November 30th. And now we've received responses back. Additionally, we conducted engagement earlier this year, had another kind of Q&A session in January. We flyered the neighborhood over the last few weeks to get the word out for tonight's event. So a lot of engagement has gone into this and a lot of months of kind of conversation. And some of the things that we heard back during the visioning workshops and in other conversations was a need for youth programming and recreation, a need for quality open space in the community and beautification of those open spaces. The importance of celebrating the cultural assets and community resources that exist in the community. In terms of retail and commercial, folks that we spoke with articulated the importance of kind of general retail. So, pharmacies, stationery stores, office supply, clothing, but really a preference for local businesses over national chains. We also heard about the importance and need for business and entrepreneurship support and workforce training. And then if housing were to be included in the site, we heard that it was important that that housing be accessible and affordable to local residents and families who already live in the neighborhood. And I sort of got into it a couple slides back, but this was sort of the timeline. So last fall, we went through the visioning process to really define and vision for this request for proposals. The RFP was released at the end of November. And then development teams had 4 months to review the proposal or review the RFP and develop proposals for the site. Those proposals were due back on March 30th. And now we are in the evaluation process. And so now we're in the process of sharing the proposals with the community, developing an evaluation committee that will review and score the proposals. And then by the end of this process, we hope to have identified a successful proposal that the city will work with and that they will continue to work with the community to build something at 47th and Justine. And so, as I mentioned, we received 3 proposals back. The first one was from Park Row Development LLC and the Churchill Stateside Group. Their proposal is 1515 West 47th Street LLC. The second proposal was from Condor Development and Back of the Yards Coffee Company, and their proposal is titled Back of the Yards Works. And then the third proposal we received was from New City Redevelopment Limited Partnership, which is Celadon Partners and Blackwood Group, and that proposal is named United Yards. And some things to keep in mind tonight as we hear from these development teams. What is your overall impression of these proposals, and what excites you about them, what concerns you about them. These are things that, you know, we want to hear from you. How do these proposals respond to community wealth building? You know, are they involving minority-owned team members? Are they promoting local businesses and local business development? Are they hiring local? Do they have experience doing developments and partnering with groups in neighborhoods like Back of the Yards? Do they demonstrate competence in their proposal in terms of what sort of uses they're proposing? Are they reflecting the community priorities that were articulated in the visioning workshop and in the RFP? Are they presenting high quality design? Is their proposal financially feasible? These are all things that you should keep in mind, that you should feel free to ask questions of this evening. And they're things that we will be taking into consideration in the evaluation of these proposals. And before we get to the three development teams and their proposals, I want to take a moment just to review kind of how your feedback will be incorporated into the process. So everything we hear tonight, all the questions and answers, all the comments and feedback that we receive, the Department of Planning and Development will synthesize that, will summarize that, and we will publish that publicly and share with all of you afterwards, so you have a complete picture of kind of what we heard and what questions came up tonight. That will also, you know, all the feedback we received tonight will be shared with the evaluation committee. And so as it evaluates these proposals, it will take into consideration what we've heard at this meeting and at subsequent meetings about these proposals. We will also be releasing a community scorecard probably sometime next week, where we will again ask for your feedback, you know, sort of a score sheet for each of these proposals, to again get information and feedback and ideas on, you know, what's important to you, what isn't, what concerns you, what excites you, and what should the evaluation committee be taking into consideration as it evaluates these proposals. And so all of that will go to step 3, which is the evaluation committee. And as they evaluate the proposals, they will incorporate the feedback that we're receiving tonight and at subsequent meetings into its evaluation. And then once those evaluations are complete, we will share those at a subsequent neighborhood roundtable and also share publicly. And then, you know, at that point, presumably we will have a successful proposal selected, and DPD will begin the process of negotiating with that proposal. They will be required to also continue to engage with the community to shape that proposal as it gets developed. And so with that, I know that's a lot of information, and we will be here after, you know, after we get through these 3 proposals. You know, DPD staff will be here to answer any questions you might have about the process. But at this point, I do want to hand it over to our facilitator for the evening, Norma Celedon, who will be helping to facilitate the 3 presentations and facilitate the question and answer session with all of you. So Norma.
Thank you, Nolan. Buenas noches. Good evening to everyone. In Spanish first. Mi nombre es Norma Celedón. Es un placer para mí servir como su moderadora esta tarde. Soy residente actual de La Villita y he trabajado previamente por muchos años en Pilsen. Sirvo a muchas comunidades de Chicago en varias capacidades. Hoy es una de esas capacidades. Soy bilingüe, pero hoy me van a escuchar hablar mayormente en inglés porque tenemos un traductor. Si acaso no se han reunido a la traducción, les invito a que busquen el icono, la imagen que dice Interpretation, abajo en pantalla a mano derecha, y ahí van a ver un botoncito que pide que elijan español. My name is Norma Celedón. It's a pleasure to serve as your facilitator this evening. I'm a current resident of Little Village and have worked in Pilsen for over 15 years in the past. I currently serve various communities across the city in different capacities. This is just one of them. I am bilingual, but tonight you will hear me speak primarily in English because we have a translator. If anybody needs translation into Spanish, please look at the icon on the bottom of your screen that says interpretation and choose Spanish. Thank you everyone for being here. We have, from what I understand, over 275 individuals that have registered for tonight. That gives me the impression that All who gather here do so because they desire the best for the New City community. Things will not get resolved today, but this is one step of many moving towards stronger relationship building. Participatory partnerships are evolving. And with that in mind, I invite us to go over some gathering norms. So if you would please mute yourself, and this is for our panelists during the presentations when you're not speaking. Please state your name when speaking. For our audience, please use the Zoom Q&A function. Again, you will find that at the bottom of your screen. For any questions that you have. When participating verbally, I'm going to ask our committee members to raise your hand and respect the stack. In other words, we will be placing you in the order that you raise your hand, and then just step back. All questions and ideas are valid, and we ask that you respond or you participate with respect. As a quick rundown again of how we're going to proceed for this section, we will have each of our 3 developers make an 8-minute presentation. It's going to be followed by 10 minutes of out loud inquiries by our roundtable members who have been part of the process from the beginning of the project. We ask our our roundtable members to please raise your hand. Your name will be listed in the chat in the order that you raised your hand. Please ask your question one at a time and allow your colleagues to ask their questions. We want to make sure that as many people as possible have an opportunity to ask questions out loud. And again, if there is time, we will get through everyone. And for our developer representatives, we ask that your answers be as concise as possible, again, to make sure that we get as many questions asked. We will then move to our second and third developers with the same format. I also want to let our general audience know that they can pose questions in the Q&A section. After each developer presentation, we will also allow 10 minutes for questions, and we will read those out loud, particularly the ones that have not been answered in the chat. But I want to remind us that DPD is very committed and intent on answering all questions. So an FAQ document will be created and available on the DPD website, and you will get that, that address when we are done. So I would like to welcome 1515 West 47th Street to please go ahead and provide a quick introduction and then allow us to share in the 8-minute video.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone on the call. We understand, Zoom is tricky for these things and it's not easy to do, but thank you. We welcome any input, but my name is Matt Mosier. I'm the lead for Park Row Development, who is the lead for this project. Our team consists of Park Row Development, Wall and Gomez Architects, All Construction Group is our general contractor, Precious Blood Ministry of Reconciliation is our community partner, and Churchill Stateside Group is our financial partner.
Great. And I'll stop sharing the screen. And Sonia, if you want to share and play the video.
Okay, can you see this, my video?
Yes.
Perfect, okay.
Just got to press play.
Sonia, the blue button in the center, in the lower.
Of the history of this neighborhood. Over a century ago, Chicago was the meatpacking capital of the world. The stockyards in this neighborhood fed the entire country. At that time, jobs here were plentiful. Now this neighborhood faces a host of challenges. People here need jobs, training, affordable housing, and support from within the community to nourish the community. We know the old fixes for these challenges just don't work. We need a new plan. I'm Matt Mosier. I have 20 years of experience in construction management. Among other projects, I've managed the construction and repair of the Fannie Emanuel Senior Apartments in Garfield Park. I assisted with the redevelopment of the Concord at Sheridan, a mixed-income building in Rogers Park. Louis Puig and I founded Park Row Development to build affordable and mixed-use developments. Currently, we are developing the former Aronson Furniture Building on Ashland in New City. The Great Cities Institute at UIC conducted a study and a survey to determine the best way to revitalize the 47th and Ashland corridor. The Quality of Life Plan came out of that study, and as we started our planning for this development, we used that as the backbone for our community revitalization strategy. We learned that we not only needed to provide affordable housing, but also jobs, low rent for new businesses, a community space, and several means of supporting community wealth and enjoyment. After setting these goals, we just needed to design a building to house all of it.
Hi, I'm Augustin Gomez with Wall & Gomez Architects. We're an MBE in Chicago since 1990. We have worked with various city agencies, and we are the architects of record of multiple mixed-use developments across the city. Two of our favorite projects were division buildings, which provide affordable housing in Wicker Park. Working on this project, we considered a variety of forms to reflect the building's function and context within the neighborhood, while delivering a high design aesthetic. We determined that we needed a building that would maximize space for housing, commercial, and community space, draw interest while not conflicting with the surrounding architecture, include artwork that mirrored the vibrancy of the residents, enable us to obtain LEED Silver certification, and demonstrate the power of architectural design.
Our goal was to adhere to the design strategy while fitting housing, community, and commercial spaces into a 15,000 square foot lot. The exterior design approach is to promote community interaction by having a two-story welcoming corner presence. We provided neighborhood participation spaces in the garden, as well as an open public space along 47th Street, encouraging pedestrian interaction. The public spaces are highlighted in blue, while the red ribbon wraps around the residential portion. An outdoor rooftop terrace is provided along with green roofs and solar panels, which the building will use to generate 3% of the power on site. We also have featured a vibrant mural by a local artist.
For the residents, the building provides affordable housing units, bike storage, free laundry, central air, and a recreational lounge with access to an outdoor roof terrace, as well as underground parking that will limit the impact on neighborhood street parking. For the public, the building provides a restaurant space, a hydroponics farm, and space for a community-backed organization that would benefit the neighborhood residents.
Once the design was finished, all we needed was a builder.
Louis Puig is my partner and co-founder of Park Row Development. We started Park Row Development last year specifically to do affordable housing and mixed-use developments. Louis is also the sole owner of All Construction Group, which is a family-owned and operated MBE general contracting firm that's been in business for 40 years. So All Construction is an industry-leading general contractor and construction management firm. They've won numerous awards in the city and the state specifically for their masonry work. With this project, it'll allow them to hire 325 construction workers to finish a building that'll be safe, sound, and the quality that this neighborhood deserves. The total cost to bring our plan to life will be $19.8 million. Our finance plan was modeled by the Churchill Stateside Group, who specialize in financial services for affordable housing with renewable energy. Our plan enables us to be fiscally responsible to minimize city funds. If our proposal is accepted this August, we'll break ground in February of 2022 and complete construction by August of 2023. But what we're really looking forward to the most is how the people and programs inside of the building will serve the community.
My name is Father David Kelly, and I am the Executive Director of Precious Blood Ministry of Reconciliation here in the Back of the Yards community. And for the past 20 years, we've been embracing a restorative justice philosophy to build a healthier community. Our mission is to restore the community through radical hospitality, hope, and healing. We offer 4 different program areas to accomplish this. I'm going to be directing the Community Development Center at 1515 building.
In working together, we agreed on 3 key objectives: enable home ownership, build community wealth, and deliver what the community asked for.
So in communities like the Back of the Yards, one of the things is there's a huge wealth gap between white communities and black and brown communities. And so we're really trying to shrink that wealth gap by providing our community members with the opportunity for home ownership.
To support successful home ownership, we'll use the community space as a space for subcontractors and general contractors to provide home repair classes to returning citizens, our residents and neighbors,
Through this community center, we really hope to have a hub where people can really come and receive support in financial literacy.
Of course, the road to homeownership really begins with gainful employment. And to help with gainful employment in our community space, we will have computers and other resources for the residents and for neighbors to do job searches. This will build community wealth and it will build stability.
We're also supporting community wealth by creating a hydroponics farm on site, which we're very excited about, which will employ 10 building residents. The farm will produce micro and leafy greens for sale, giving employees the opportunity to learn how to run a business and how a business is structured.
We will be removing one of the roadblocks to business ownership by providing a lower rent commercial space specifically to someone from the neighborhood. This way, we make a new business possible while ensuring that it is locally owned. Also, this new business, like a restaurant, will provide 30 new jobs for community residents.
A local dining option was also included on the list of primary needs and goals the residents of New City shared at a community meeting in 2019. We deliver against that, as well as providing an art gallery for all residents, 2 commercial spaces for local businesses, a recreational space, and all the resources to be provided in the community space.
One of the concerns that community residents expressed was the lack of affordable housing. We will be providing 50 affordable units in a building that is designed to instill a sense of pride and a feeling of comfort about your home.
From a historical perspective, I'm drawn to this area. You can see the bones of what was here before. I want to do what I can to help recapture that. We want this to be a place where people can live and work, where they can feel comfortable and enjoy relaxing outside on the rooftop deck with their family. We want returning citizens, our neighbors, and our residents to come here for the support they need to buy homes, learn the skills necessary to maintain a home, attain financial literacy, or find employment. We want everyone to come here to relax, dine at the restaurant, and enjoy the outdoor gallery. Our vision is to cultivate a place that elevates the community. That's our plan.
Thank you very much, 1515. And thank you, Mr. Mosier. At this time, we would like to open it up to our roundtable members. And it looks like we have in queue Ms. Janet Tapia, who would like to ask a question. Ms. Tapia, if you would please unmute yourself and please ask a question.
Hi, someone mentioned that they're currently developing the Aronson building. That development was announced, I think over 2 years ago, and I honestly don't see anything happening. What guarantees us that this project won't drag on and that something will actually be built?
From 2 years ago, we can't really speak to what happened then, but as far as guarantees, we can't really give any guarantees other than that, we bought the land, we're fully invested in that. So we're going to do whatever we can to do it, just because if we don't, we're going to lose the money.
So can you tell me why the Aronson project has been dragging on? I'm sorry, I'm just.
I don't know. Sure. Yeah, I don't know too much of the history of it. We bought the property in July of 2020. And so where we are with that is we applied for the state's housing tax credits, and we're just waiting to hear back from that. Assuming we hear back soon, you'll start to hear, see a lot of stuff happening on site.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier, and thank you, Ms. Tapia. We now have a question from Berto Aguayo. Mr. Aguayo, if you would please unmute and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. My question really relates to the prevention of gentrification in our community and ensuring that we're supporting folks from the community. So I would like to know where are the developers from and what's their connection to the community?
So I'm Matt Mosier for Park Row Development. We are based in Cicero, Illinois. I'm from the East Coast. I've been in Chicago for the past 20 years, the majority of my career here. Like the answer to the last question, we've invested in the Aronson furniture site. We're making a financial commitment of our own to be in this community, and we want to do whatever we can to build it up and be a part of it.
Thank you so much. It looks like we had a question in the chat from Maureen Kelleher. Ms. Kelleher, would you like to ask your question out loud?
Sure. I would like to know from 1515 how they're going to help people with mortgage lending to buy property in the neighborhood. Do you have a partner to handle supporting folks to obtain mortgages?
We do.
Okay, who is it?
We actually have two banks. One of them is US Bank. The other probably we can't talk about yet. Okay. But our plan is to, and that's where Precious Blood, our community partner, has been really leading the charge with that. So we've identified 4 men that are in the Precious Blood Ministry program. We are in the process of looking for homes for them within Back of the Yards and Englewood. And our goal is to buy one, work with them to fix it up, and then US Bank would provide the mortgage.
Okay. And then, sorry, I'm going to do a second one. The housing you propose is studio and 1 bedroom. A lot of our people here, including returning citizens, have large families. How is that housing going to help the people who are here?
We're actually at studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms.
Okay. 2 bedrooms are still kind of small. When in the early sessions of this, I and others pushed hard for affordable 3 bedroom. We know that's really hard to do, but that's what our folks need as well. And I appreciate the emphasis on home ownership of existing property, but I'm concerned about the rental mix.
Yeah, understood. Us too. We tried to fit as many 2s and 3s as we could in kind of the box of the volume, but the site is tight. And actually at the Aronson site, there's actually going to be more 2s and 3s there.
Thank you. That's helpful to know.
Thank you so much for the answers, Mr. Mosier. I want to make sure that all of our roundtable members have the capacity to answer questions before we move to the written Q&A. I'm not sure if people are aware of the raise hand function. If not, if you would please drop your name in our chat so that I make sure that I get to your questions. I'm just going to give it a couple of seconds. Okay, if we do not have any more questions from our roundtable members, I am going to move on to the.
Actually,
all right, I just want to, yeah. Go ahead, Alderman Lopez.
Thank you. This is Alderman Raymond Lopez. How much tax public funding are you requesting?
Just under $9 million or just over 9 million. I'm sorry, Alderman, I can pull it up. I don't have it in front of me to tell you the specific. Bear with me for 1 second.
And actually, I'll just say if all presenters could share how much money they're asking in public subsidy, whether it's TIF, NOF, historic tax credits, what have you, as well as how much money you have privately secured for your venture, so that we know how much you're also putting in of your own money as well.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. And if this does not get addressed when we have our other 2 developers, if you would please kindly remind us that they have not answered that. Thank you.
Is it okay to answer right now, or do you want me to just follow up
please.
afterwards? Yep. So 4.4, we're asking for 4.4 million in TIF, 6.3 million in tax credits, and then the 6.35 that was included in the RFP.
And how much are you putting in of your own? I'm sorry. And is it secured already?
Sure. So we've the 250,000 is what we put in for the offer price. So we put that in for there, and then the rest will be debt that we'll take out of the 19.8.
Thank you.
Alderman Lopez, is that the end of your questions?
Yes, for now. Thank you.
For now. Thank you so much, Alderman. Okay, I am going to move to the Q&A function and ask questions that have been done. I have our first question that asks, how are these developers planning to actually document all the work that has happened? As a community member, watching other projects go up, I am concerned about developers messing our streets and sidewalks with no accountability. So perhaps 1515, if you'd like to reply to that.
Sure. Our plan is to have a live video streaming on the general contractor's website, and there'll be numbers and contact points that you'll have throughout. They'll be posted on site along the site fence, but as well as our websites that'll allow you to get a hold of anybody if you have any questions. But you'll be able to see all of the progress, via live camera.
There is a question, Mr. Mosier. How will this construction impact our schools like Hamline and Chavez? Will this impact our students' housing?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't at all.
You indicated you plan to break ground in February of 2022. How is this possible when recipients of the RFP won't be announced until late summer?
Yeah, we just picked August, assuming late summer being the date that we would start. So if we pick it, we're ready to design it and start getting to work. We think between August and February we would be able to complete the design, get the permitting we needed to break ground in February.
Thank you. There is a question. What do you consider affordable housing for our community?
The model that we are using is 60% of the area median income. So rents are capped and it's based on a HUD calculation. So that we are actually a little bit below that number.
Thank you. Next question. What are the requirements to apply for the affordable housing? Will there be a certain population excluded from this?
No populations will be excluded. It'll just be income based. And we haven't specifically set the process yet, but it'll all be done through the site, and my company will be leading that charge.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. How will you ensure that the housing is fully accessible?
All of the units will be convertible, so if we need to change them to accessible, the infrastructure will be there that'll allow us to do it at a later date. But at a minimum, we're going to meet the city's requirements for accessible units and sensory units.
And at this time, I just want to announce to our audience that it seems that some of these questions are meant for all developers, so I will make sure to bring those up again when we have our other presenters. What is the time frame for completion?
Assuming it's awarded at the end of the summer, if we were fortunate to be picked, our plan would be to start construction in February of 2022 and finish all of it by December of 2023.
Thank you. I'm looking through our questions. What will you do for residents who already own in back of the yards? There are a lot of homes that need repairs, and I'm not sure if that question is for you or for the city.
It definitely could be for us, because one of the things we want to do with our community space is it's not just for the residents, it's not just for Precious Blood Ministries, the people that come through that. It's for anyone that lives in back of the yards. We're not going to turn anybody away. If they need help or classes on how to do home repair and things like that, we're passionate about that. We love that craft, and it'll be open to everybody.
Thank you. And the next question, with this proposal, how many jobs will be created and how many of those will be for local people?
We anticipate 380 jobs. Of that amount, 325 will be construction, 15 will be during the planning and design phase, and 30 full-time jobs between the hydroponics farm and the anticipated commercial entity that'll be there. In regards to how many will be local, we would love them from all to be local. We're not going to put any limits on how many we would hire from the community. We'll have things in place where people that live in the community can reach out to me or our general contractor or our architect of record if they're looking for a job. And one thing that we would really, really like is if somebody has a business that they want to talk to us about, relocating into the future commercial space, we would welcome it. And priority for that would certainly be given to someone from the community.
Thank you so much. Our next question asks, and this is for all the developers, are any of the developers from the back of the yards?
I am not.
Will there be a partnership with CHA?
Nope, we're not anticipating that.
Considering that the median income of back of the yards is significantly below 60% of area median income for Chicago, how will this be actually accessible to current residents?
That's a good question. The rents we believe are well below what the market is there now. And if we see that we can't rent them at the rate that we are, planning on doing, we can certainly lower them to get people into the building. Our goal is to fill that building as fast as humanly possible. So if our rents are too high, if we're off on that, we will definitely be lowering them. But based on our market studies and our financial kind of analysis of it, the 60% AMI would fit the community.
There is a question about wages. What wages will you be paying for each category of job?
So all construction, for at least for the construction piece, is a union shop, so it would be union wages. Anytime you get into tax credits, you have to pay prevailing wage according to Davis Bacon. Union wages are typically above those, slightly above those. So all the construction work would be union scale wages, even if they're not union. As far as the commercial spaces, they wouldn't be, the commercial entities that would go in there wouldn't be, or at least one of them wouldn't be owned by me. So whoever, that would just be dictated by the market.
Thank you. Mr. Mosier, there is a concern about gentrification, and would you kindly speak to that concern?
Sure. Our view on gentrification would be if we're coming in and displacing people that, couldn't afford to live in the area. We think we're doing the exact opposite of that. By making the units affordable, we believe we're preserving affordable housing and preventing gentrification.
Thank you. I'm looking around because some questions are for other individuals. There is a question here. It says, when you mentioned that there are no excluded populations, will that include people with a background? And I'm assuming they're talking about a criminal background, perhaps?
Assuming that's the case, we will not limit anybody because of that background. I mean, in fact, you can look at our community partner as specifically dealing with people of that population. We're trying to help as many people as we can. We definitely would not exclude someone because of a prior criminal background.
Okay, and there is a question of Mr. Mosier about what type of community input you will go through or have gone through before finalizing your plan.
We use the Great Cities Institute plan as the basis for our, kind of steering what to put in here. So a lot of our input was that, given the competitive nature of this, it was difficult to go out to, really solicit community help or, community input other than that. Our plan would be, if we are fortunate to win it, is to immediately start working with Alderwoman Taylor and Alderman Lopez to make sure that anything that we are planning doesn't go against what they are thinking. And then we would really lean on the city about scheduling meetings like this, to get as much direct community input as possible. We think Zoom meetings like this are extremely valuable, although they're difficult to do many times. We think they're just really valuable because they can reach a lot of people in a lot of different areas. So we would welcome this format if we're fortunate enough to be selected.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mosier. And this concludes the section for 1515. Would
Thank
you
you.
like to make any closing remarks?
No, just thank you. I appreciate your time, Norma. Thank you for moderating, and thank everyone. We appreciate your questions, and hopefully we answered them to your satisfaction.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mosier.
And this is Nolan.
and
I'm
thank
sorry
you
to
for
interrupt.
1515.
Sorry to interrupt, Norma. I know Terry Cox had her hand raised. Terry, if you want to, since we're kind of pressed for time, if you want to type your question into the Q&A, we'll make sure that it's included in the FAQ that goes out after this.
Thank you so much. I apologize for that, Ms. Cox. Okay, we will now move on to Back of the Yard Works. Back of the Yard Works representative, please feel free to start with your introduction and then move us into your video.
Good evening, buenas noches a todos. My name is Jesse Miguez, and I'm representing Back of the Yard Works. We are the only 100% homegrown proposal that is from the community and for the community, and that will promote true community wealth. We are part of the neighborhood, and in fact, we are part of the neighborhood plans that some of the developers have talked about. That's why one of the reasons why we didn't give our back to our neighbor to the east, Tom's Pancake House. Instead, we're stitching together the community with a plaza in between instead of building walls. We're only the only proposal without housing, and not because we don't believe in affordable housing, but because we understand the real needs of the community. The issue that we have with housing here is very different, and not one that will be solved by a saturation of apartments in this lot from outside developers. While good intentioned, the housing is affordable in Back of the Yards, but what people want is home ownership in order to create generational wealth. That is what we intend to do by supporting this proposal, by providing jobs and training in fields that support living wages and promote local and diverse entrepreneurship. Speaking of diversity, we have the most diverse team out of the three proposals, one that includes women, Latinx, Blacks, LGBTQ+, and veteran-owned firms. I'd like to introduce, with that, I'd like to introduce one of the lead architects for this project, who's from Back of the Yards, to share a little bit why this is special for Patricia Saldana-Natke.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I'm Pat Saldana-Natke, one of the owners of Urban Works, one of the architecture firms on the team. We were delighted when AP Monarch asked us to join the team because I'm a native from Back of the Yards, born and raised on 48th and Marshfield, a couple blocks away from the site. My dad worked in the stockyards for over 35 years. So personally, this is an exciting project for me and for our entire team. I believe that you will see that our energy is shown in this project, and it's really about seeing people succeed who are from the neighborhood and are going to give back to the neighborhood. So thank you, and hope you enjoy our video.
For Back of the Yards Works, SEED is more than just our business model. It is our way of life that helps foster a healthy relationship with our youth, environment, and comunidad. It is the foundation of this project that will bring economic prosperity to the Back of the Yards community. From literally replanting the seeds of native plants that dominated this once marshy land to planting the seed of responsible economic development in an area of the community that has historically been disenfranchised and lacking in opportunity. We are planting the seed to help our community thrive, one that prospers, is connected to each other, and has a fair shot at self-sufficiency and wealth creation. Back of the Yards Works is the embodiment of SEED and the perfect manifestation of the spirit behind Invest Southwest. Inspired by Daniel Burnham's Plan of Chicago, we are making no little plans. As community members ourselves, as people who grew up attending the local schools and churches, going to our community parks, supporting the local businesses, and who continue to be immersed in our comunidad, this is not just any proposal. It is an opportunity for us to reinvest in our community, the same way our mentors believed in us and invested in us. Back of the Yards Works team would design and build per the standards of the Living Building Challenge, seek its certification, and develop a sense of place unique to its history, culture, and locale within Chicago's Back of the Yards community. The Living Building Challenge works from an international guide of principles that ranges from consciousness of the materials used to how the building is connected to animals, plants, and each other. The design and construction of the building takes into account beauty, operational resilience, reduction in carbon emissions, and the circular economy. The building itself will stand as a symbolic icon of true community wealth. The Living Building Challenge is the most advanced measure of sustainability in the built environment and will serve as a baseline to support Chicago's sustainability goals. Our building will incorporate responsible water use, renewable energy sourcing, and will foster environments that enhance physical and psychological well-being. With mental health, anxiety, and community trauma being real detrimental factors in the lives of those around us, this is of utmost importance. Stormwater runoff is mitigated by green infrastructure such as permeable pavers and green roof. The green roof and the terrace overlooking the plaza at grade level will serve as visual elements exemplifying the commitment to sustainability and will incorporate rooftop gardens that will include weeds, hops, and pawpaw trees that will then be used in the production of beer, baked goods, and coffee by the businesses below. The building will also house its own commercial composter so that approximately 95% of the building's waste can be diverted from landfill to compost. Building materials have been carefully selected to be both environmentally friendly and also analyzed through its full material supply chain for a low embodied carbon footprint. A grand stair is meant to engage patrons to an intuitive physical activity by using the stair as seating, a contemplation space, or to access locally owned amenities on the second and third floor. From marsh to modern, the landscape design surrounding and permeating the Back of the Yards Works project reflects a collective emergence of a plant and wildlife community and a vibrant human engagement. This beautiful scenery is one that respects the culture of the neighborhood, merging nature, space, and people into one interconnected community. The Seed for Music and the Arts, another youth violence prevention initiative, has already been planted on us through the Marimba Ensemble. With the addition of the Marimba Institute, we will be nurturing that seed that was planted many years ago, now having the resources to give it a stable home and help the program thrive.
I credit the program for helping me discover what my dream is and molding me into the person that I am today.
Through the Workforce Development Center, we will offer job training, certifications, and a foundation towards self-sufficiency. Employment opportunities will be offered in the building and through our partnerships with other employers in the city and beyond. Our overall goal is to provide a pathway for individuals seeking reintroduction, immigrants, and those with little or no work experience that may otherwise be deemed unemployable. From day one, this building will be 100% occupied by locally owned Latinx and women-owned businesses, anchored by the nationally recognized Back of the Yards Coffee Company. This building will be a destination for visitors from across the city and from out of state. Businesses like Somos Monos Cerveceria, founded by local brewmasters Victor Santoyo and Rene Lemus, who will operate a brew pub unlike anything in the area, offering cerveza artesanal paired with bites from local restaurants, good music, and football. Named after Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, La Selva has been rejuvenating neighborhood pride through t-shirts, hats, jewelry, and accessories since 2016. Started by local artist, graphic designer, and social activist Rolando Santoyo, who has been the neighborhood go-to designer since he was a teen. Rounding out the list of retail businesses in this development will be pastry chef Sara Victoria Lopez's Sugarberry Bakery. Inspired by French-Mexican gourmet panaderias, Sara Victoria will offer her famous cookies and pastries to patrons that visit her beautiful retail and online shop. We are committed to working with local partners like Plant Chicago to be catalysts for and to implement a local circular economy. Circular economy is a collaborative approach to economic development that is intentionally designed to benefit businesses, community, and the environment. From civic engagement to dedicating their life to years of public service, our team is dedicated to being of service. They are bilingual, bicultural, but most importantly, they are entering this project with genuine intentions and their hearts in their hands. This is from comunidad to comunidad. It is not enough to just build a beautiful building, but what will go in it? On top, outside of it, will the community be welcomed? How? How is this integrated into the community? How will this building create wealth for a community? Who will profit from it? All these questions were essential in developing our team, in selecting the businesses that will be housed here, and the folks that will build it. Funding for this project is coming from public and private partnerships. We will use every funding available to us at this site, including TIFs, New Market Tax Credits, Neighborhood Opportunity Funds, PACE, as well as private equity and commercial financing. We are turning an ambitious dream into our reality. The seed that started as a Facebook post, rooted by the community and nurtured by our well-rounded and diverse team, will blossom into an important community hub in a part of our community that has largely been forgotten.
The City of Chicago's Invest Southwest
Thank you so much, Mr. Iñiguez, and thank you, Back of the Yard Works. We would like to now open it up to our roundtable members for questions. We also want to remind you that we cleared the Q&A questions. If there is something that you feel was not addressed, please repost. We are going to also ask some of the previously asked questions to this developer. But again, if you do not feel that that question was answered, please repost on our Q&A. So with that, I want to open it up. Maureen Kelleher, I believe that you were the first to have a question. So please unmute and ask your question, Maureen.
Oh gosh, okay, hold on, there were a bunch. Let me back up.
Would you rather that we go to somebody else and come back to you?
Yeah, you can go to someone else and come back. That's fine.
Perfect. Okay, we have Berto Aguayo who wants to ask a question. Berto, please unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Norma. And thank you, Back to the Earth Works, for that presentation. Same question as the last. And in order to prevent gentrification, I think it's important to support people that are from the community, and would like to ask the question of where are the developers from and what's their connection to the community? Thank you.
Thank you, Berto. Yeah, the development team is between Condor Development and Back of the Arts Coffee. It's 75% ownership of Back of the Arts Coffee and 25% of Condor Partners. Back of the Arts, both Myra and I, we live in the community. Maybe Michael can answer where he's from. But aside from that, 100% of the business owners are also local. And live in the community and work in the community as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael McLean from Condor Partners. I will be completely transparent here. I originally did not choose to pursue this RFP. I only agreed to pursue it with Jesse and his partnership and his vision that he brought together, along with Pat Saldana-Natke, both of which I got to work with and continue to work with in Pilsen at an office project that we have there. I live in Evanston. I've been a resident of the Chicagoland area for over 15 years. I am originally from New York. Please don't hold that against me. I am completely reformed. And I'm really, really proud to be part of this team. One of the things that I wanted to make sure was happening before I agreed to join was that the majority ownership, which I consider exists today in this land, stays in this land with community members, community businesses, and community residents. So Jesse and I were able to craft this idea that Condor is a meaningful part of the development team. We bring a lot of expertise, both in development, construction, and finance. But we are not the lead on this project. The Back of the Yards Works team is the lead, the vision and the creators of this idea. And we're super excited to be part of it.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. And now I'm going to move over to Terry Cox. Ms. Kelleher, will it be okay with you?
Yeah, I can wait. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cox, please go ahead with your question.
So my question is for the developer. Did the city give you the land or are you paying for the land?
So so right now, the land hasn't been given to anybody. We would be requesting to purchase it for $1, so that we can develop it and so that the savings could go back to the renters of the building.
If I could further elaborate on why we decided not to offer a significant amount of money for this land, is that in our work in neighborhoods in the Chicagoland area and in other areas, we've been taught by the community that this land already belongs to this community. Its equity already exists with the residents of the community. And for us to come in and offer anything on it, we would then be asking the community to then give us tax dollars back to pay for it, right? So our focus has really been, from a financial perspective, to reduce the cost as much as possible so that the for-profit and not-for-profit entities that will be existing in this and opening their doors to the community would be able to pay less in rent and financing costs and more in wages and workforce development efforts. So we have asked for the land for $1, but we have not asked for it for $1 to make a profit. We've asked for it for $1 because we want to return the investment back to the community without asking for them to then give it back to us when we go to build it, because this is something that is highly subsidized, as well as all the other developments tonight that you'll see.
Thank you, Mr. McLean, for clarifying that and for elaborating on that. Ms. Kelleher, we are ready to come to you.
Sure. I have two questions. The first one is, how will you ensure that folks in the neighborhood are hired for the construction jobs that this project will generate? And the second question is, could you talk about the choice not to include a housing component, and are there partnership opportunities with other proposals to include housing?
I'll answer the second, and maybe Jimmy and or Michael can answer the first. I think the choice was made because, I mean, as a resident, and having conversations, and hi Maureen, by the way, the issue of housing is very different in Back of the Yards. Currently, housing is affordable. The issue lies more in the quality and a lot of the housing is old and needs to be reconstructed or fixed. People want to have home ownership. We are aware and have partnered up with organizations like the Resurrection Project, who are building new homes, as well as neighborhood housing services, and as well as Casa Norte, which have plans as well to build housing for youth, homeless youth. So we are aware of the many projects that are happening out there. We just felt that this building and this specific location, we wouldn't get much out of it by saturating 50 or more units and cramming them, because as you saw, Maureen, a majority would have to be 1 and 2 bedroom apartments and not satisfy community needs of 3 bedrooms or more. So that's the reason why we decided not to. Not because we don't believe in affordable housing. We definitely do, and we support it. We just think this building was better suited for commercial and for job training, and really to provide the answer to the first part, affordability, right? By providing jobs that pay prevailing wages, that pay above minimum wage, living wages, and job training in the field that is a median income of 59,000 in the food and beverage production. So, and then on the first one, Jimmy, you want to take that?
Yes, Murray, thank you so much for asking that question. I think it's ridiculously important. My name is Jimmy Akitane. I'm the president of Ugamo Construction. We are a Southside contractor. We've been in the neighborhood for the last 19 years. Some of our work includes the 50,000 square feet training facility we built for People's Gas in Little Village. That project was completed with 80% diverse contractors of Hispanics, minorities, and women. We are also the builders of the Whole Food Centers in Inglewood and the Southside High School that was built by the city 2 years ago. What makes us different is we make sure that the community is reflected in the project that we work on. We work with several community job training programs to make sure that the community is being trained and being part of that process. And I believe we have one of the strongest records in the city of Chicago for diverse contractors and diverse spends and businesses. It's a personal goal of mine because diverse businesses always hire diverse workers. So if you want to put people back to work, you have to put companies that reflect the people that you're trying to put back to work. And that's where our strongest points is. And we're very excited that we will meet and will exceed every goal on this project for the community. The project will always reflect the community at every phase of the construction.
I'm glad to hear your commitment. Let us know if you all get it. Let us know, and we will make sure. Like, I have 2 neighbors I know I want to send to you if you all get it.
I would love to talk to Murray.
Thank you so much, Mr. Akintonde. And this concludes the open questions by our roundtable members. And so we're going to move into Q&A from our general audience. So it will let us start with the question, what youth from the back of the yards did you as a developer go to for input before finalizing plans for the youth project?
So, I mean, I think we're constantly in communication with neighborhood youth, my neighbors, but even, with folks from Increase the Peace. We spoke to some of the neighbors on east of Ashland as well. And just constant communications with folks has helped kind of not only develop this idea, but also, I mean, this idea is years in the making. This was something that was probably thought about, by adults in the community when I was a youth. And now we have the opportunity to actually do it. But moving forward, I mean, there is still, we still definitely want input, and we still want to meet with whoever is willing to give us their input, including meeting with the 20th Ward Community Development Group to make sure that we can answer any questions they have as well.
Well,
thank you, Mr.
One of the things that I really liked about the project is that you're basically talking about 4 local businesses that all graduated from a not-for-profit entity, joining and surrounding that not-for-profit entity that helped them succeed in their lives and set examples that they are now passing on. So this entire building, including going for sort of truly design excellence as was called for by the staff, but the entire building represents a level of genuine wealth building within the community from youth through ownership that is hard to reflect, particularly in our built environment. And not just the developers, that Jesse and the other businesses that came together to say, hey, we all came from this program. How do we accentuate this and amplify it? But the actual designers are from the community, and they're designing it to speak to the regeneration, the regenerative forces that are active and passionate within Back of the Yards. This isn't transformational, right? This isn't additive. This is meant to foster what's going on right now and solidify it into something that will then grow the Main Street atmosphere within the 47th and Ashland corridors, and which we've all learned over this pandemic, not having our main streets, not having our shops, our little interactions with the barista or the taco vendor. Those are critical pieces in our lives we've all been missing for a year, right? This focuses on bringing that back to the heart of this community, from the heart of this community. And then anybody is welcome from the community to come into this property and be part of that experience. And that is truly a remarkable thing that I couldn't have thought of as a developer, you know, and I'm really happy to support.
Thank you, Mr. McLean, and thank you, Mr. Iñiguez, and we certainly appreciate your passion. And we know that time is limited, but for the sake of getting a number of other questions in, we just ask you to be just a little bit more succinct with your answers. Thank you very much. There is a question in Spanish. I'm going to read it in Spanish and then translate it for you. ¿Cómo van a garantizar que los vendedores de mi comunidad van a tener un lugar en este edificio si no tuvieran los fondos necesarios para estar ahí? How are you going to guarantee that vendors from my community will have a place in this building if they would not have the sufficient funds to be there?
Puedo contestar en español. El 100% de los negocios que van a estar en este edificio desde el día primero, desde el día que abramos, van a ser 100% de la comunidad. Lo que es la panadería, la cervecería, la tienda y el café, todos son negocios de personas que hemos salido de esta comunidad, graduado de las escuelas de aquí. Y entonces, sí, efectivamente el 100% de los negocios que van a estar aquí son de la comunidad. And to repeat in English, to answer the question, 100% of the businesses within this building are from the community, whether it's, you know, the brewery or Back of the Arts Coffee, the bakery, and even in La Selva shop. We all graduated from the neighborhood grammar schools, and we all live in the community. We all are active in the community. So effectively, yes, 100% of the businesses are local.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iñiguez. And we're actually going to go back. Alderman Lopez had a question. So I am granting the floor to Alderman Lopez. Please unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Thank you again. I want to go back to the funding of this project. I believe it's a $15 million project, and I want to thank you for whoever included in that video the nice breakdown. But my estimation, almost 74% of this project is publicly funded in one variation or another. Has the other 27% of the funding been secured, and is there letters of intent by banks to make up that difference?
You want to take that one, Michael?
Sure. We are estimating around $750,000 of equity to be provided into this project. We do have a number of sources that have expressed interest both in investing not only in the property, but investing in the businesses themselves.
So, I'm sorry, excuse me, Michael, just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
So do we have letters, commitment letters for the funding?
No, we do not have commitment letters and don't expect them without a commitment to the project. So,
okay. So then may I also ask, I think there was $3 million in debt I saw. What does that entail?
So we have talked to several banks and PACE funders because this is a living building system design. We've evaluated the option to bring on PACE debt and or senior debt. The PACE program, is run through the city, and we tried to keep all funding ideas that were in control of the city, not the state, not the federal government, but that the city of Chicago actually did have influence in, was able to help deliver to the community.
And the new market tax credit was $4 million. Has that already been applied or guaranteed, or where are you in the process of that?
No, we have a partner on board that works to help secure new market tax credits and help get them funded. But we have not applied for that yet because we are still in the running for the RFP.
Got it. So
Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Thank you. And I just want to add on one other item, because I think Ms. Kelleher mentioned it in the last one, the issue of housing. And I believe that the city of Chicago was explicit in asking for housing to be incorporated in not just this RFP, but in the 9 other RFPs across the city of Chicago. And with so much public money tied up into the request, it just begs the question why you would choose to ignore one of the items that was a requirement in asking to be a part of this project. I understand if the goal was to do it separately with your own money, with your own funding sources, but when nearly now 90% of this project is publicly funded, to ignore the request for housing after months of deliberation by community partners, including yourself, it just seems a very poor choice, unfortunately. And I wish we could have had housing as part of this as well. So however you wish to respond to that.
I want to remind us that the time is up for this section. We want to make sure to be fair for the rest of the participants, as well as for United Yards, whom we have not heard from. So I would like to invite Back of the Yards Works to please answer in the Q&A or answer in the chat, and we will make sure that those answers get recorded in the FAQ that's going to be created. I know that Alderman Taylor, you had a question, and I did mention that I was going to give you an opportunity to ask your question. So please go ahead. I know Ms. Tapia, you had a question. Please ask your question in the chat, and we'll make sure that that gets added to your FAQ. Alderman Taylor, please ask your question.
Thank you. So this is to not just this group, to all the groups. The Back of the Yard is a Black and Latinx community. And too often when we create opportunity, we never include that. And so we do this community a disservice by not including both. And for too often it happens. Even when it comes to these calls, a lot of times you don't see Black representation, and that's a part of this war. And so to all the participants, how are you adding Black folks and Black business owners and folks who live in the community to your projects? Because I hadn't seen that at either one of the projects yet. And so I'm just curious to how we'll do that.
Thank you, Alderman Taylor. And again, I invite all of our developers to answer those questions either in the chat or in the Q&A. We would love to move on to United Yards, but Mr. Iñiguez, I'm wondering if you would like to make any closing remarks before we move on to United Yards.
Yes, and to briefly touch on both of their questions, I think
I'm going to ask if you would make closing remarks as opposed to answering questions, to be fair to the other participants.
I just want to thank everybody for participating in the proposal, and we're still open to meeting with folks who have concerns or ideas within the project. And this is the beginning, not the end. And we're part of the community, and we look forward to meeting with you, both Alderman Lopez and Alderman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Iñiguez. Again, I apologize that you were not able to answer, but appreciate your brevity. Thank you so much. And now I would like to move us on to United Yards. United Yards, if you would please come on, do an introduction, and please share your video with us.
Great, thank you, Norma. Thank you everyone for taking time to attend this important forum tonight. My name is Jose Duarte. I'm a native of Chicago, principal of Blackwood Group, and we are co-developers of United Yards, along together with Celadon Partners. Throughout this presentation, you'll be introduced to members of our diverse team who are rooted and highly accomplished in community revitalization projects. But before doing so, I want to highlight some of the uniqueness of what you're about to see with United Yards. We seek to leverage the same amount of resources offered by the city for redevelopment and apply them on a much grander scale, from Justine to Marshfield, as can be seen on the background right behind me on my background. United Yards includes not only the redevelopment of the 47th and Justine site, but where we propose to build 50 100% affordable housing units, along with a community opportunity hub. But we also will renovate the Rainbow Building on the corner of 47 Ashland, adding senior living options within the restored building. We will build a community park with community programs with the help of Star Farm over the existing dead-end cul-de-sac on 47th and Marshfield. And we also build 6 additional state-of-the-art affordable housing units just west of that park. All of this is possible because of the innovative financing structure that is perfectly suited to the scale and the nature of the United Yards project. And this is one project and one concept that our team is uniquely positioned to execute. United Yards has a vision of providing New City with an opportunity to solidify intergenerational resiliency and stability, starting from the Opportunity Hub, its earmarked youth educational programs, access to high quality, affordable housing so that families can remain in New City as rents eventually go up, and expanding our service to our aging community with options to stay in New City from independent to assisted living options. Our vision will restore the iconic landmark gateway that will be 47th and Ashland. This will be a source of community this will be a source of pride and identity to the neighborhood and to the community. But our vision, most importantly, serves as the expanding linchpin that ties together the social fabric between East and West New City. So I thank you for your time today, and we present United Yards.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. We'll now move on to the video. I think we may be having technical difficulties for our video. We invite us to start the video.
Sorry, give me just a second, guys. Sorry about that.
In the meantime, I just want to make sure that we have queued. We have Ms. Tapia, who will ask her first question, and then we have Mr. Aguayo, who will go after Ms. Tapia.
And I'll also jump in while Sonia's getting the video ready and just mention there were lots of questions in the Q&A that did not get answered in the last round. I just want everyone to understand that we will be taking all of those questions that didn't get answered. We'll be sharing them with the development team and having them answer those questions. And we're going to put together kind of an FAQ document that has all the questions and answers. So if you didn't hear your question answered tonight, don't worry, we will get an answer for you. We will publish that in a document. It'll go out to everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Nolan.
Sonia, are you ready? Okay, I can try and share. I have the video here. I will share. Hold on a second, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and want to remind you that the Q&A will be available for questions for our final developer, United Yards.
Everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone. I'm not sure what just happened there. I couldn't fix this video. Sorry.
No sound.
Yeah, no sound.
There is no sound currently.
Extra points.
I apologize, everyone.
There's no
If you
sound?
want, I can share it now.
You can share it now? Okay, go for it, Sonia.
Yep. Sorry about that, everyone. Thanks for your patience.
You know, it wouldn't be a Zoom call without one technical difficulty, right?
That's right.
We've come to understand a saying, tech happens. And thank you, Mr. Duarte, for being so patient.
No worries. It was going pretty smoothly till now.
West Southwest Initiative brings a new season of revival, renewal, and reinvestment to the New City Back of the Yards neighborhood.
As a stakeholder in the community, we envisioned an opportunity to utilize this development as a catalyst to maximize activation along 47th Street, from the east to the west, and weave together a vital intersection and reinforce a gateway to New City. This is United Yards. Well, my name is Scott Henry. I'm the founder of Celadon Holdings. We started out in 2008. We're affordable housing developers. We've completed over 1,500 units in 7 states, but Chicago's our home. This particular project back in 2013, it involved a lot of research about the existing building. This particular building was built in 1915 over 3 different phases, and a rich history and lots of stories. And that research and figuring out how do we celebrate the history of this building led us to learn more about the surrounding community.
Our proposal for New City brings a vibrant mixed-use development with 50 units of high-quality affordable housing to 47th and Justine. Building amenities include a large outdoor landscape terrace connected to a community room to encourage social gathering, foster connections to nature, and frame views to the northeast, while also serving to break down the building's massing. The ground floor is set back from the corner, expanding the public realm, while addressing the intersection through the incorporation of landscape and public art, and forming a sheltered entrance to the Opportunity Hub, a community-centered space that provides youth programming, job training workshops, and flexible spaces for entrepreneurs. The new building's design is guided by principles of design excellence, intentionally modern and designed to uplift and activate the corner. With high-quality materials and careful facade articulation, the building's skin utilizes a combination of lightweight masonry and metal panels organized to wrap the corner through a terraced material expression that visually connects the ground floor public realm to the building's upper levels and outdoor spaces.
I'm Deanna Thomas, President of 5T Management.
Steve Thomas with Acquisition and Development.
So we are in New City Supportive Living. This was the old Goldblatt's building. If you are familiar with Chicago, you know what Goldblatt's was.
There's been such disenfranchisement on the south and west sides of Chicago, and this program will breathe life back into these neighborhoods. Our development specifically, I think, is very unique in that the city has one location, and our proposal is to build 3 different locations. Help be generated from this project, again, will be life-changing and will be generational.
Coming from having been a government official, that in my role at the Department of Housing, we tried to focus on bringing investment to our communities on the south and the west side, especially communities of color.
My name is Jose Duarte. I am the founder and a partner at Blackwood Group. We are a general contractor and a developer in the city of Chicago.
The reflection of the makeup of the actual development team reflects well with what's in this community, and it respects the community, the diversity of the community, and the makeup of it. So preservation and empowerment and augmenting what we have already is critical, and it's a strong focus of ours.
It's not a team that's coming fresh into the neighborhood and trying to make something of it. It's a team that understands the neighborhood, that has a presence in the neighborhood, and is looking to continue on what is there already with the supportive senior housing.
That we have before us also is to make sure that we're including some of the community wealth, some of the community businesses that are part of this community already, and bringing them into our development. I think it's great.
I'm Stephanie. I'm the founder and director here at Star Farm Chicago. We've been working in the neighborhood since 2016. We're an employer of the neighborhood as well, so we make sure that when we have job opportunities available, we make them first available to people in the neighborhood. And we've had people with us for 3-4 years now, and even individuals in our Disability Farmers Program graduate and become part of our staff.
My name is Myra Carranza.
And you're a part owner?
Yes, I'm co-owner of the Stockyard Coffee House with my sister Guadalupe Carranza. We started talking about it more and more about having a business together. This is something we can do. We can do for the community as well, and that's how it came about. Our immediate neighbors have been very supportive because they're like us. They wanted something that they can walk to and get a good cup of coffee, and if they want to enjoy the ambiance, they can enjoy the ambiance. The expansion would be a second location. We are really excited.
That will all be removed. The terracotta will be restored. The storefront and the windows will be restored according to historical standards. So we're very excited about that opportunity.
Excellent.
Growing plants need water, and growing communities need seed money. It's possible that through the Invest Southwest program, the city will grant up to $6.3 million in TIF money to the winning proposal. If the United Yards New City is selected, we will leverage the city's $6.3 million into a $51 million development. We will add the city's investment to our equity based on our tax-exempt debt status, land donations, and historic landmark tax credits. The combination will enable us to make the equivalent of a 41% down payment that will easily attract lenders for the remaining financing. The United Yards team proposes to use the city's investment to rebuild 4 sites instead of just 1, to deliver nearly double the amount of affordable housing called for by the city's request for proposals, to activate empty commercial and retail spaces, and to create green space that will become a gathering point for the community. We envision a state-of-the-art mixed-use development that will fuel activation of the 47th Street corridor with community-centered ground floor spaces and much-needed affordable housing. Our proposal starts at Justine and 47th with 50 affordable apartments for families and a ground floor opportunity center for job training and youth programming. But our vision goes beyond that. Just a half a block to the west at the Rainbow Building, we propose to build 30 units of affordable apartments for seniors, and in the ground floor to construct a new coffee shop to be occupied by Stockyard Coffee, a local business owner that hopes to open their second location in our building. This is the New City Supportive Living Facility, a property that we currently own. We propose to enhance the property by building a Medicaid clinic on the ground floor, 70 spaces of underground parking, and Star Farms is going to help us construct a demonstration garden directly next door to the park. We propose to build 2 state-of-the-art 3-flats built in a modular factory right here in Chicago, providing immediate access to quality affordable housing in the New City neighborhood.
Thank you very much for that presentation. And now we will move it on to our roundtable members, beginning with Ms. Janet Tapia. Ms. Tapia, if you would unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Hi, so I just want to ask, are you the current owner of the Rainbow Building?
My name is Scott Henry. I'm a principal with Celadon Partners. And that's a great question. What else? I would like to answer the question and also introduce our development team. We have a very deep team and they'll be addressing a lot of these questions here. But to answer your question, we have a purchase and sale contract to purchase the property. If we're selected, we will raise our own capital and acquire the property. But Jose Duarte, if you don't mind, why don't you introduce our team just so the group has a good sense for who we are and the makeup of our team.
I'm sorry, so you're not the current owner?
We have exclusive right to develop the property through a binding contract.
Okay, so I just want to say that that building has been an eyesore for the community for many, many years. And your video states that you want to continue to do what you have been doing, and you haven't been doing much. That building is truly an eyesore. And I just hope that the building does get renovated. I don't see how you could ask for trust from the community. because you don't take pride of ownership of the building. I just hope that the building could be renovated and bring up to date so that.
Yeah, if I could kind of answer that question, we don't actually own that building. We have control to purchase that building. Our intent, we agree with you. It is an eyesore. It's been an eyesore for such a long time. And we feel that underneath it, it's a beautiful building with a lot of terracotta. And once restored, it's going to be a jewel as it was once before. So we want the opportunity to purchase the building, which we have control, the rights to purchase it at this point in time. And our intent is to make that corner be the gateway and be something that all of us, could be really proud of and serve as a landmark, edifice of having those two restored buildings on that corner. So that is our intent.
And Janet, we're the owners of the new City Supportive Living. I don't know if you were living in the neighborhood before we renovated it, but you probably would recall that building, the former Goldblatt's department store, looked a lot like the Rainbow Building. And we came in there and we invested $50 million and turned it into the beautiful building that it is today. That's what we'll do with the Rainbow Building. It will look nothing like it looks today. It'll be a beautiful gateway for New City. Sanford is our historic consultant. And Sanford, do you mind talking a little bit about that building? Because it's a very, very special part of our proposal.
Thanks so much. Again, my name is Sanford Garm with RG Collaborative. As is mentioned, one of my areas of expertise is historic preservation. As you all know, the Rainbow Building initially was the Depositors State Bank, built initially in 1924. The current condition really gives no evidence of the true character of that building. The interior of a bank building or these types of buildings actually are extremely well suited for utilization, reuse, particularly for housing and again for offices. That wasn't initially. So that's why it's so exciting to look at this building. And everybody talks about being green. There's nothing we talked about earlier. Nothing is more green than reusing existing structures as much as you can. So just very quickly about the building.
Thank you, Sanford.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gardner. I would like to move us. I know that Mr. Henry, you wanted to introduce your team, but I would really like to move us through the different questions. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left and want to make sure that you have as much time to answer our audience questions.
Okay.
So if it is okay, I'd like to move on to Berto Aguayo to ask his question. Berto, if you would please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure, thank you. Once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I do think that it's important in order to prevent gentrification, to support folks that are rooted in community. And so the question to United Yards is, where are they from and what is their connection to the Back of the Yards community?
Well, it's a fantastic question. With the new City Supportive Living Facility, we've been in the community since 2013. So we've been proud to be part of the community and serve an important role in providing affordable assisted living for our aging residents in the neighborhood. But Jose, why don't you talk a little bit about our team and the makeup and where their connection to Back of the Yards?
Yeah, just to try to answer that question and kind of show the connection that we have to the community and to the South Side, specifically to New City. We have, first of all, I'm a Chicagoan, grew up in Chicago, went to school in Chicago, currently don't live too far away from there. I actually live in Bridgeport. And then we have, as Scott mentioned, Celadon has been there with the supportive living facility, the senior living facility there since 2013. Steve Thomas of 5T Management, an MBE firm, also manages, and it's been in the community for about 8 years now. And a couple of our partners, our key partners in this development is Stockyard Coffee and Star Farms. And if I could maybe bring in Guadalupe and maybe introduce yourself, and Stephanie also also introduce yourselves and tell us your connection to the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Guadalupe Carranza. I'm with my sister Mayra Carranza and husband Fernando Gutierrez. We actually grew up in Back of the Yards. We, were baptized at Immaculate Heart of Mary. We went to Robert Fulton. We shopped at Atotonilco, at El Güero. We walked, 47, and, we are really excited. It gives me a little bit of the chills to come back, to a place we left because of a family loss early, when I was 17. But it's really exciting to come back, to be able to give back, to do things. We have a little free library at the Stockyard, and we have another one, at in the community that we live. Being able to give back, to partner with the community, and to give resources. We're the Stockyard, the Stockyard Coffee House. We're really excited. Do you wanna?
Thank you. Stephanie?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm seeing a lot of friends and colleagues and neighbors on this call, and I'd just like to quickly say that these projects are all so impressive, and it's just a joy to see so many community people here putting forth such wonderful inclusive projects. So I'm happy to be a part of it. But specifically, I've been living in the neighborhood for about 6 years. My mother lived here. We moved here to help take care of her. My husband, this was actually the first neighborhood he came to when he moved here from Mexico. So we have some roots here. I've had my children in this neighborhood. I started Star Farm Chicago in this neighborhood in partnership with community partners. And of course, my kids behind me right now, only when I'm talking. So we have great connections here. And this is not just in the past, and I just don't want to focus on the past, but also thinking about the future and how we can all move forward in the future. And yes, to Berto Arguello's question, STEM gentrification, and one of those things is also affordable housing, but it's also jobs. And just like everybody's been bringing in here, because we are all so holistic, and that's what makes Back of the Yards such a thriving community. It's also sustainability and working with local businesses. But to a question that was also in the chat box, why focus on senior housing? It's also, we have to look at every pocket of our population, not just the business owners and what would be best for them. It's also the youth, it's the young children, it's young mothers, it's older mothers, it's whole families. It's also our elderly population who can bring a lot to our generation and to the neighborhood. And I think it's very important that we take our elders into consideration, because I don't know if any of you have been to New City Supportive Living, but that is a force, and there is so many wonderful minds in there that when we bring those, we have a lot of intergenerational interaction that can really help support everything. And affordable housing is very important. So I'm just going to drop starfarmchicago.com in the chat box so you can learn more about us independently, and also my email, so you can just reach out to me to yell at me or anything else. So
thank you, Ms. Dunn. Thank you, Ms. Dunn. And we are going to close the roundtable member section, but I would like to encourage our United Yards team. It sounds like you have a fabulous group of individuals, but I'm going to highly encourage that you be concise with your answers. We have quite a number of questions in our Q&A. We want to get through as many as possible. We have maybe about 8 minutes for this section. So I would like to go ahead and start with our Q&A. One moment. We have a question: how will the affordable housing lend to the cohesion of the neighborhood?
I'd like to introduce my colleague and partner with Celadon Partners, Aaron Weisner. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we see affordable housing as critical to really find high quality affordable housing as being critical to fighting the gentrification trend. We're working in other parts of the city where that trend has overtaken the city. Costs have gone up, rents have gone up. The ability to provide workforce housing level rents at a at a level that we will hold in place for at least the next 30 years is essential to that goal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Weisner. I am moving on to the next question, and we have someone who asked, what options do we have for our undocumented population who may not qualify for housing assistance?
Well, that's a great question. It's a big challenge everywhere in the city. We get that question with other projects we're working on in Albany Park as well. It's something that it's not a question that we ask. Citizenship is not necessarily a requirement in the low-income housing tax credit space. So I would say that we're inclusive. We welcome everybody. But I would refer you to the Department of Housing for their specific requirements and what they allow and do not allow.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Our next question is about parking. Our question indicates that parking is a huge issue in the community. How many parking spaces will your project offer?
Well, part of it is a problem, and we want to control that problem. We know that there are some parking lots across the street, and maybe we could work out a deal with those owners. But we want to make sure that the parking that we provide is under our control and at the use of our residents and commercial tenants. So we have the benefit in our existing building at New City Supportive Living. We have a huge basement. And it's very deep and it's underutilized. So part of this plan is to build an underground garage and provide 70 parking spaces. Now, these spaces will be available for the site at 1515. It'll be available for the Rainbow Building and certainly our residents in New City Supportive Living and the 2-3 flats. So we think that will really, really help address the parking challenges that we have in the neighborhood.
Thank you so much for that. Will all units be affordable housing?
Yes, they will be.
Okay, that was an easy one. What will the rent be? We have about 40,000 residents. How many apartments will be available?
So in between all the properties that we're proposing as part of this project, we're proposing to provide 87 affordable apartments, 30 in the Rainbow Building, 4 seniors over 55, and the balance will be in the 1515 building in the 2-3 flats. Now, we are sizing the rents at a maximum of 60% of the area median income. That doesn't mean that we're going to charge that. We want to be the preferred place to live, right? And we know there are economic cycles. So not only do we want to provide the best price, we want to provide the best amenities and the best services for our residents. So we size our rents to a considerable discount to the market. Like I said, it doesn't mean we're going to charge 60. It'll be below that. We know that the market will improve over time, and maybe there's opportunities for rent escalation at that time. But we want these properties to be affordable and attainable for everybody.
Thank you so much for that answer. And so along those lines, would the units be mostly studios and 1-bedrooms? Can you break down the unit sizes?
Well, I feel like I'm taking all the thunder here. I really want to have some of my colleagues chat.
I think Gabby would be good to answer that one. He's itching to say something.
I will. I think the one thing I want to say that we really differentiate ourselves from the other proposals, we do have quite a few 3-bedroom units in our proposal. But Gabby from Design Bridge, our architect, our fantastic architect, could you talk a little bit about that offering?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabriel Ignacio Chikevich, and I'm the owner of Design Bridge. And for the new building at Justine and on 47th, we have a mix of unit types. We have 10 3-bedrooms, 12 2-bedrooms, and the remainder are 1-bedrooms.
Thanks you so much, Mr. Ignacio. There is a question. Who are you partnering with for the Youth Community Center?
Aaron, why don't you take that question?
Yeah, what's proposed for the community center is actually something referred to as an opportunity hub, which is a technology training, startup support, and venture capital focused initiative. It's a program that's being attempted at a few points in the city. We are working with a strategic advisor, Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, which is working on this in other locations and has signed on to help us with this. But our intention is to work with a local partner to actually operate and own and serve that in that space. We will provide the space at a $0 rent. And the hope is that once this selection is made, if we're so lucky to be selected, to work with one of the community partners that we have already met with in detail over the previous months to bring them formally in to be the operator.
And if I may, if I can just add a little bit more specifics in terms of the youth programs, you know, I've been associated and work with an organization out there called We All Code. Ali Karbasi is the founder and CEO of that, and it's a wonderful organization that provides STEM programs to the youth in the city, free classes that teaches them coding and programming. They have summer classes, weekend classes. And, you know, they're a not-for-profit and they do this out of, you know, strictly from donations and private grants. And so that's one of the organizations that we're targeting that I think would be a fantastic opportunity to bring into New City as an offering to the youth. You know, that, you know, there's no bigger field out there than tech out there and the STEM fields. And to have that ability to have that resources locally, I think would be a great asset to this project and to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. And this concludes this section of Q&A. Again, we are thankful for all of your Q&A. All of those unanswered questions will be put into an FAQ document, which will be available on the webpage. And I am being assured that all of those questions will be answered. Thank you so much for United Yards, and Mr. Duarte or anyone from your team, I invite you to provide any closing remarks.
I did the opening, so Scott, you close it out for us.
All right, fair enough. Well, why don't I answer a question that I know Alderman Lopez is going to ask, and that's about the financing. You know, as we mentioned in the video, we are you know, we're hopeful that if we're selected, that the city will provide $6.35 million in TIF. The rest of our financing, you know, in contrast to the other proposals, we don't have any speculative financing. You know, we're not asking for new markets tax credits, which are very hard to get. We're not asking for grants. Our capital stack includes financing that we know we can get. This is not a competitive source that we're competing with against other developers. So we're talking about $31 million of tax credit equity that's raised from a combination of 4% low-income housing tax credits, historic tax credits that really come with the Rainbow Building, and you know, $5 million in affordable state affordable tax credits. We also are putting in $5 million of our own money. A little hard to quantify. Some of it's our own cash, some of it's a donation of property that we already own that we're bringing to the table here. But really, if we're selected and the city provides the $6.3 million, we know that we can raise the other capital. This project will get built.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henry, and thank you, United Yards. A huge gratitude to all three of our developers for their patience. Thank you for our audience with our tech issues. I am now going to hand it back over to Nolan for closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Norma, and thank you to all three teams and everyone for your patience. I know we're now a minute over on time, so I'll try to be quick here, but I do want to stress something that Norma mentioned. Again, you know, I know there were a lot of questions that came up in the Q&A and also in the chat that were not answered tonight for all three teams. We will make sure that all three teams receive those questions. that were asked of them. We will compile all the answers and we'll put that out in an FAQ. So if your question wasn't answered tonight, rest assured that we will get it answered for you. In terms of next steps, I just want to spend a few minutes to talk about how you can continue to engage in this process. Tonight is not the last time that you'll have an opportunity to engage. And so, the first thing we're going to do after tonight is we will synthesize what we heard tonight, the questions that were asked, the answers that were given, the comments that came up. We will be synthesizing all of that, summarizing it, and putting it out in a document that you can review. We will also be distributing what we're calling community scorecards within the next week or so to everyone who attended tonight's event. That will give you another opportunity to review the 3 proposals and provide feedback and thoughts on those 3 proposals. Those scorecards will be shared with the Neighborhood Roundtable and also incorporated into the Evaluation Committee review process when that occurs. We are also working, since this is in the 20th Ward, we are working with the Office of Alderwoman Taylor and her staff to coordinate with her community planning process that she has outlined. And so we do anticipate holding a second community meeting. It will also likely be virtual, but holding a second community meeting kind of in coordination with the 20th Ward in the next couple of weeks. As part of her process, we anticipate that 20th Ward residents within a half mile of the RFP site will have an opportunity to vote on the proposals for 3 days after that second community meeting. But please, keep your eyes open for communication on a second meeting and when you can attend that. Once all of the community feedback has been received from tonight and from that second community meeting and the 20th Ward's voting process, all of that information will be provided to the evaluation committee. And the evaluation committee will take all of this feedback into consideration when it evaluates the 3 proposals. We anticipate that sometime next month, the successful proposal will be selected from the 3. And then that is still not the end of the process, really. Even once a successful proposal is selected, they will be expected to continue to work with the city and with the community to engage around their proposal and continue to shape it to make sure that it really fits the community's vision and needs. So that community scorecard should go out. We're anticipating sometime next week. Again, it will give you an opportunity to provide more feedback and thoughts on the projects that you've seen tonight, on the proposals, what works for you, what doesn't, what's important and what isn't. And you'll be able to submit those back and those will go into the evaluation process. And then I just want to make everyone aware of some upcoming meetings. Next Thursday, we have our regular May Neighborhood Roundtable meeting for Back of the Yards and Best Southwest. That'll be on the 20th at 6 p.m. As I mentioned, we do expect having a second community meeting in coordination with the 20th Ward. This is last week of May. It might be the end of May, the beginning of June. We're still working with their staff on identifying a date and time for that. And then we're hoping to have more information around the evaluation process at our June roundtable meeting on June 17th. If you are interested in participating in the Neighborhood Roundtable, it's been meeting for about a year now. And we have anywhere from 20 to 30 regular members who show up, but it is certainly open to anyone who is interested to engage. Please email my colleague, Sonia Eldridge. Her email is at the bottom of the slide here, sonia.eldridge@cityofchicago.org, and she can get you added to the roundtable and make sure that you're getting invitations to it. So with that, I know we're a few minutes over, but I want to thank everyone. I know we have Commissioner Cox, my boss, has joined us in the last 30 minutes or so. And so I do want to give him an opportunity just to provide any closing comments that he might have before we close out this meeting tonight. Commissioner?
Great. Thank you, Nolan. I like that arm brace you've got there.
The latest fashion right here.
Everyone, I just want to thank you for your attention to this amazing opportunity for the Back of the Yards. I think at its height, you had 180 people gathered here this evening, and that's an amazing commitment that you've made. And I hope you will continue now that you are engaged completely, that you will come back again. In fact, each one bring one so that we can get to more and more people who understand what's going on in their community. It is part of the goal of Invest Southwest is to finally have some choices on the south side and the west side of Chicago. And so we're thrilled that 3 wonderful proposals stepped forward. We want to find there's work to be done for everyone. And our intention is to have so many community developers who are working across this geography that we see a momentum building. And so I'm thrilled by some of the community partners that step forward. I'm thrilled by some of the development teams, extraordinary architectural visions of what's possible. So I just want us to keep the momentum going, understand that in many ways this is the beginning, that you will continue to shape and form this development to the point where it really feels like it's one and the same with Back of the Yards. And I just want to thank the partnership as well that we've been able to forge with Alderman Lopez and Alderman Taylor. They are a critical part of creating this opportunity for Back of the Yards, and wonderful planning and development team. Let's keep the momentum going. And thank you so much for your input and your attention this evening.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, everyone. You will receive a follow-up email from us with more information on how to continue to engage. And when the scorecard goes out, we'll make sure that you all get it. Thanks again. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Buenas noches.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.